Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this live webinar with ServiceNow and Aspire Systems. The title of the webinar and the info that you'll be getting insights into today is Getting into Sync with ServiceNow Helsinki. Just to run through a couple of points for those of you who may or may not be familiar with Aspire Systems. Aspire Systems is a global technology services firm, and they serve as a trusted technology partner for all their customers. They also work with some of the world's most innovative enterprises and independent software vendors, such as ServiceNow. Their services include product engineering, enterprise transformation, independent testing servicing, and IT infrastructure support services. The reason why today ServiceNow and Aspire Systems are jointly doing this webinar is that Aspire Systems are a part of our partner ecosystem, and they're on the journey with us. So we'd like to welcome them and thank them for taking part. Before we do hand over, please allow me to introduce myself as well as the two presenters that we have on the call. So I am Trevlyn Bien. I look after channel marketing for ServiceNow across the UK and Ireland, and I'll be your host for today for this webinar. The other two presenters that we have on the line, we have got Matt Dando. Matt Dando is from ServiceNow and he is actively a part of the ServiceNow team. He is an advisory solution consultant at ServiceNow and has been with us for some time. If we take a look at his history, Matt is a senior consultant and has over 8 years' experience in technical software pre-sales. He's held many different positions with a variety of industry leaders as well as channel partners and innovative startups. From Aspire Systems side, we have Ravi Kumar, which we'd like to introduce. And Ravi is a senior ServiceNow consultant at Aspire Systems. He has well over 12 years of industry experience, and he is the expert in designing and implementing ServiceNow. And he does this for various different global customers. He also heads up the ServiceNow delivery at Aspire. So during the course of the next hour, it gives me great pleasure to hand over to Ravi as well as Matt, and they'll be able to take you through the journey of ServiceNow and all about Helsinki. So in order to kick this off and in order to start the webinar, please join me in welcoming over Ravi.
Thank you, Trevlyn. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Matt, for joining with us for this webinar, and thank you, everyone. So let's get into the agenda of this webinar. So we have two parts in this webinar. The first session will be focusing more on ServiceNow upgrades, what you like to know about ServiceNow upgrades, and what are the best practices around upgrading your ServiceNow instance. So if you are new to ServiceNow or if you have using ServiceNow for quite some time, so you always need to wonder about what is the effort you're spending and what actually is the best practice to really upgrade the instance and how frequently you can do it. So I would be able to answer your questions in those sessions. And the second session will be focusing more on what is available in Helsinki, because in case if you're planning to move into Helsinki as your next upgrade, we like to give you an essence of what is Helsinki in a nutshell. And we also like to give you what you can expect in Istanbul as well. So hope you will have a good session, and let's get started. So first, let's start with understanding what ServiceNow upgrade is all about. So now in the pictorial representation, I have given a family. You can see every upgrade is from one family to another family. So in case if you're saying that you're upgrading your instance, you're actually moving your instance from one family to another family. So Helsinki is a family, Eureka is a family. Within a family, you can see that you will have hot fixes, patch releases, multiple patch releases, multiple hot fixes bundled around. So we need to use the terms correctly. So all we need to understand is if it is an upgrade, we are upgrading from one family to another family. There are many questions around this area, whether it is right to upgrade from one family to another family by skipping one. For example, if you're in Fiji or if you're in Geneva, so can we move directly to Helsinki? So I think it is perfectly fine if you're going with the best practices, which I'm going to give you in the forthcoming slides. So there is no restriction. ServiceNow supports your current version and the two previous versions. So you're perfectly fine with that. All you need to do is have a right planning of what you're trying to achieve and have your customization done by using the ServiceNow best practices. And if you have customized it a lot, if you have bent the platform a lot, you may need to have put in more efforts during the upgrade. But if you are following the best practices in developing or coding the ServiceNow, I don't think you need to spend a lot of time, except you need to give enough time for the testing. So let's move on to the next slide of life of an upgrade. So I have divided the best practices into 3 phases, the entire upgrade cycle. So it starts with inceptions by just being ourselves, like an admin or a co-developer for your instance. So it starts with an inception, like what's the reason behind an upgrade? So why I am upgrading my ServiceNow instance? Am I trying to get the latest features of ServiceNow? And if yes, what I'm going to get and how it is going to benefit my company? Or if I'm going to upgrade and I don't want a couple of features. So that kind of discussion and inception is what is needed first. Okay. So and if we can document that, it is pretty well. And next comes the planning. The planning cycle starts with what is the timing of an upgrade, what is the right time to do this upgrade to your instance. So there is no generic thing that, okay, you can upgrade this part of the year, or you need to wait for till this date or a hot fix to upgrade. So all you need to do is what is right for your instance. Every ServiceNow instance is unique, and what you have customized is unique for your instance. So you need to time it perfectly, when is the right time to do it. And overall, just gauge the user acceptance, because you should know what is coming towards your instance when you upgrade, and you should have some kind of hunch what the user acceptance will be when I am going to have this new family of ServiceNow instance rolled over to all the users. The third stage comes with an estimate. Overall, it's an effort estimate and timeline. It might sound a little bit of project management, but it is indeed a project management. If you handle it well, the upgrade process, I think it will keep this instance long and stable for quite a period of time until you upgrade. So estimation starts with the effort. Most of the time, what we have witnessed from the customers who approach us is we don't really estimate the efforts, or we don't have a track of how much effort we have spent earlier and how much we are planning to spend this year during an upgrade. So effort tracking is important. The task allocated with an upgrade has to be recorded, and there should be an effort variant for that. And other formalities start. So you need to get the acceptance of the stakeholders, buy-in from the business that if I'm going to upgrade, these are the things which we are going to get, and that's how user-friendly it will be, and these are the new applications which we can use for our business. So these are formalities can be added, and if we can come up with a process, I think you can send it for approval, and all the things related with formalities there. The second phase is actually an execution where you start and do things. So it will start from clone. So you know that, right? So when I'm going to upgrade, I'm not going to upgrade my production instance directly. I need to know what will happen when I upgrade. So I will actually clone the production instance to one of my sub-production instance, and then upgrade the sub-production instance to see how it will behave. What are the customizations I have did, and what are the new features I'm going to get. So in this area, you need to make sure that while you're cloning your production to the sub-production, make sure that all the update sets in the sub-production instance is extracted and you have taken that out, because you might be in the developing process of some customization or creating custom application. So this clone will wipe out everything. So it will copy the exact production to the sub-production. So you need to make sure that all the changes or all the development activities are taken, and you have a backup for that, and clone the sub-production instance with the production information over there. And you can do that by using the Hi portal. So Hi portal is very user-friendly. If you haven't used it for this purpose, please do that. It is very user-friendly. It gives you the live status of the entire cloning process and upgrade. So you can see it right away what is happening in Hi, and you can schedule it when you want to do that. So once you have cloned it, schedule and monitor. You're going to schedule it using the Hive portal and monitor whether the upgrade is complete in sub-production. And the third stage in the phase 2 will be to review the upgrade history. So this is nothing but a log. Okay, so this log will show you whether the entire upgrade process, or sorry, the cloning, the upgrade process went well actually. So you will have each and every entity over there, and you can see whether it has skipped or the upgrade is successful or it went on error. So this is the first step you will really witness what exactly is happening when you upgrade to a new instance. So based upon the upgrade history review, you will be able to plan what are the areas where the upgrade has skipped and why it has skipped. Okay, depending upon that, you can perform your actions. The fourth stage in the actual execution will be testing. This is a very important phase. Okay, so you need to test all the customizations which you have did in your instances. Check for the integration. Check for the performance of your instance after the upgrade, and check for the key functionalities in case if you're not able to do the unit testing. So you should be able to perform some key functionalities, involve different stakeholders and different business people, especially the service desk who is going to use this ServiceNow, or who are using the ServiceNow instance day in, day out. So they are the right person to check some of the key functionalities within the instance, perform a fix wherever it is necessary, and freeze the testing phase. So the third phase is the actual upgrade into production. So now you have seen how your instance will behave, and you have fixed all the issues, or you have customized it in such a way that, okay, this is how my new instance should look like. Now you need to go for the production upgrade. So you can schedule it in Hive. Same process. Now all you need to do is just select the production instance and then schedule it. And you have fixed everything in test instance. So take that update set once the production instance is cloned. Okay, the production instance upgrade process should be planned in such a way that it doesn't have a major impact. Yes, there will be a small downtime in production. If you're wondering whether there will be a downtime or not, yes, there will be a brief downtime of your production instance. So it is always good that when you have minimal usage of your instance, apply the update set, whatever you have captured as a fix in your sub-production instance, and test it again, because this is the actual phase of ServiceNow to the end user. So you need to perform the same testing practices, whatever you did in your sub-production instance, and be ready for the training. So in case if you have already planned for the training, so schedule it right, have involved necessary stakeholders and train. Especially training will be focused more on if there is any major UI changes. Now you can see that ServiceNow is indeed enhancing the user interface of the instance in every version, in every family. So if you feel that it is important to have the end users enabled for this new user interface, it is always good to have a training and show them this is how the new interface will look like and what are the user friendliness you have in this new version. Okay, and there will be some customization required. You don't need to do that as part of an upgrade. You can schedule it later, but all we need to do is we need to educate the people how this new instance will look like, the upgrade. And towards the end, it is the release announcement. You need to announce it that the new upgrade is completed and everything is fixed, and have a brief time for the end users to react. Though we have tested and though we have fixed it, there is always a chance that from an end user perspective, you might come up with some kind of issues. You need to have the right process in place, and it will happen only if you have the announcement done and people are aware that, okay, this is a new instance and this is something which is not working and whom should I approach for this. So this is an entire life cycle, life of an upgrade process. So it might sound generic, but this is the step-by-step method which we can make use of. What we have did in Aspire Systems to make it easy is I will just skip this slide for a moment and let me see whether we have a slide. Yeah. So what we did is we created an an application for your ServiceNow instance, which follows the step-by-step process. It will automatically create the tasks for different people. So all you need to do is assign the task to someone who can take ownership of these different stages in different phases and track it. Every task you can have an effort involved in it, so that you will have an effort tracked as well. And you can just also involve or enable the test management plugin from ServiceNow. In case if you have not used it, please do make use of that plugin, because it is very, very easy, and it is very important because you're going to track each and every bug which you feel that you have to fix it in your sub-production instance, and you can keep a track of it in the instance itself. So it is always important to do that. So this complimentary app from Aspire Systems, we will get this ready, and we will send you the URL for all the participants of this webinar. You can download this update set and put it in your instance and make use of it. Feel free to enhance it, and in case if you have any comments, you can always reach us. Just go back. Okay. So what are the upgrade best practices? So apart from this step-by-step approach, what are the other best practices around this upgrade process? The first thing is, most of the time what we overlook is the release notes. We don't give enough time to read through the release notes to really understand what are the new things going to get into my instance if I upgrade. So the release notes are always very clear. All you need to do is spend some time in understanding the release notes and try to relate it, how this release is going to affect my customization, or what are the customization which you have already did before. So someone who have worked in this instance and someone who have an overview of the entire instance should be the right person to understand this release notes and make sure to correlate with what kind of customization you have did. And the second best practice would be to create a high-level implementation plan. As I said, the entire process might sound like a project plan, but you should have this plan ready. So starting from the inception planning effort and towards the release notes, have this high-level implementation plan ready. So validate, the third item would be to validate and upgrade with a sub-production instance first. Okay, so don't directly go with the production. Make use of your sub-production instance, not only for development activity. It is very important that you upgrade your sub-production instance first, see how it reacts, and then move on to production. Okay, the fourth item is always clone production over sub-production. Okay, it might sound funny because we have witnessed in some situations, like after everything is fixed in sub-production, people used to just clone the sub-production to the production because now everything is fixed. But what you're going to lose is you're going to lose all the data over the production, because the time in the interval time, because now you have upgrade, now you have cloned the production to sub-production, now you have fixed it in sub-production. That interval time, the production instance will have got a lot of tickets and a lot of data records. So if you clone your sub-production to production, you're going to lose that data. So it is always clone your production over sub-production. Whatever you have fixed, move that as an update set to the production instance and test. And be generous with the time allocated for testing. So apart from the key functionalities, make sure that you test all the other things, and depending upon the upgrade history log, you can check what are the areas which are skipped and what are the changes have been made to my instance, which starts from the user interface, which starts from the data and other stuff. So please be generous with the time allocation for testing in specific. If you have multiple sub-production instance, okay, in case if you have multiple sub-production instance, hold one as a clone from production to compare if required. So there are scenarios where you don't really know how it works in production, so you don't need to do that in production and see how it performs. So you can have, in case if you have more than two, you can have one instance, one of your sub-production instance clone just for production and do a trial run to see what is the current status. keep your implementation documentation ready, test cases and training material. So this is another area which most of the people overlook, like what are the implementation documents and what are the customizations which I have done. So people have it in their head but really don't have it in any kind of document. It's really tough when you start to upgrade because you don't really know how it should be performing and what I'm testing against. So have this documentation ready. And most of the time you can make use of the test cases which you have generated for the previous version, make some modification wherever necessary and have those test cases used for the next implementation cycle as well. And always adhere to ServiceNow development and implementation guidelines. So there are many guidelines available, like gives you the best practices you can follow during customization and what to do and how to do. So make sure that you follow those things. If you customize it more, then you will have issues. So it is not that you should not be customizing, but if you have doing that kind of customization which bends the ServiceNow platform, make sure that you test it well and fix it. So I will move on to the next slide, which talks about the precautions to be taken. So I have given 4 points here with our experience in multiple upgrades over this period of time. So where most of the issues happen. Okay, so it might sound, your instance is very unique as I have said, but these things are pretty much common. So in case if you're upgrading, make sure that these 4 points, you are checking it as a precaution. So the first thing is new notifications and UI actions. So during your customization or you're implementing a particular application module, take it for example a change management module, you have it implemented and you have added new notifications to the change management process depending upon the business requirement. Now during the upgrade, ServiceNow might add a couple of notifications to this particular application. Okay. So this is something which will not look in specific. So because it's not going to show up in the upgrade history, it is not going to, you will not be seeing because you will be testing for this how it should work, right? So you will receive notifications. Yes, I have received the notifications. I don't have any issues. But you are going to receive an additional notification which is added as a result of this upgrade. So go to the notification area and check for the new notifications which are added to each application. So by which you will know what are the new ones. Okay, and if you don't want those notifications, please go ahead and disable it because the end user might receive these notifications, and unless until they report it, you will not know that yes, this notification has sent and it has created some confusion in the process. So check for the new notifications and UI actions. The second item will be custom workaround versus ServiceNow fix. What I mean by this is, so for example, okay, you're working in a particular version or particular family of ServiceNow, and you know that there is an issue with an instance or with a particular functionality, and you have come up with a workaround for that particular functionality, and it's working well. And now you're in the upgrade cycle. Now you need to know that whether ServiceNow has given a fix for that particular issue which you found and you have fixed. So if there is a fix available in ServiceNow, make sure that you choose the ServiceNow fix over the custom workaround, whatever you have decided. Okay, whatever which was working already. So you need to understand how it works and whether ServiceNow has a fix, and there comes the release note. So if you have gone through the release notes, understood it perfectly, I think you can just come over this. The third item is DOM references. So what I mean by DOM references is we need to test the forms thoroughly wherever we have used DOM references in client-side scripting. There is always a possibility of these client scripts may not work when an upgrade to a new version. As a best practice, we should always use the functionality available in ServiceNow client scripting for DOM manipulation. Always it is advisable to use only the API functions published officially in Wiki. Use of any other function available on the client-side object may not, which are not published, might cause issues. So it doesn't mean that you should not use it, but if you're using it, make sure that you are checking that and be cautious in that area. When it comes to CSS customization, we should also check thoroughly whenever we have customized the HTML or CSS area of a form. For example, take it for example in a self-service portal, if we have customized the catalog page view using UI macro, customization of the UI page, etc. These are the changes may not work properly when you upgrade. So these are the areas which you need to test it and be cautious about when you upgrade. So you will have, if you find any issues, you can fix it, capture it, and update it, and move it to the production. Okay, so this is again about the app. You will receive a URL to download the app in a couple of days. So I think it should be ready, and make use of it. And if you have any feedback and any enhancements, please do post it. So I will like to invite Matt for this the next part of this session to give you an introduction about Helsinki and give you an idea about what you can expect in Helsinki if you're planning to upgrade to Helsinki, and also give you an idea about Istanbul, what's new. Hi, Matt.
Hi, Ravi. Thank you very much for your session you just ran. I thought it was very interesting and covered quite a few detailed topics that are always of concern and thought when anybody's upgrading their versions of ServiceNow. So thank you very much for that. Thank you for the way you presented that as well. So what I'm going to do, Ravi, now is I'm going to take you through, as Ravi just mentioned, take you through an introduction to a little bit about Helsinki, talk about some of the threads and some of the thoughts we've gone through with this release, and then also introduce a few more concepts that are going to arrive with Istanbul. Now, a number of you will be aware of how we actually do our releases in terms of, first of all, the fact that they're named after different locations around the world, and also the fact they're in alphabetical order, but also that we release generally 2 versions of our software each year. So we'll release one towards the end of each year. So Istanbul, for example, is due to be released in December 2016. And then we also release the other version the following spring as well. So we do a 2-release cycle. And during these releases, we'll often introduce either some enhancements to existing applications we have available or to the platform. And we'll also enhance or bring along a number of different whole new areas as well at the same time. So if you look on the slide you can see on the screen now, we have a number of different improvements that came along with different, for example, around CMDB with Calgary, and then Dublin brought in ideas around vendor management. But we also brought in some pretty significant new capability when we arrived with Geneva, for example. So Geneva, we brought along the security operations management side of things, which I'll touch on with some of the Helsinki updates, and also customer service management at the same time. So from a ServiceNow perspective, Geneva was pretty significant, but also from a Helsinki perspective, it allowed us to build on what we'd already previously developed. So we've got some of those areas which I'm going to cover shortly as well. And what we mean to do, and what we intend to do with each of these releases is to, as I said, enhance people's experience in terms of what they're able to see with ServiceNow, but also to broaden out the breadth of where we're actually able to interact with organizations and to cover the different departments and the different activities that are undertaken at the same time. So if you think about it, and you think about the broad spread of what we do, and the fact that we started off as pretty much an IT service management platform, we now move into so many different areas of a company's organization. It gives us that great ability with our single source of truth, our single instance database, to be able to actually allow an organization to really truly transform itself and transform the number of different experiences that an employee, for example, experiences when they actually integrate with or interact with ServiceNow. And when I think about Helsinki, I really do think about the 2 key themes, and you can see them listed here in terms of being able to consumerize the service experience and also to accelerate the time to value. And when I'm talking about consumerizing the service experience, it's really about creating an environment where users are able to go in, whether employees, whether customers of ours, actually go in to actually look at ServiceNow and get the experience like they get in their general day-to-day life as well. So when we go outside of work, we're interacting with things like Amazon, with eBay, experiences like Uber as well. They set the way that people interact with service systems very high. They set the bar incredibly high for other organizations. And what we want to do is we want to take what people experience in their day-to-day life and actually extend that out into the ServiceNow world. So if you think about some of the trends I'm going to talk about shortly, thinking about the applications and how you actually interact with them, the fact that we have a mobile app is very important to people in how they actually are able to look at ServiceNow and how they're actually able to use it at day-to-day work. When we're talking about accelerating the time to value, then what we want to be able to do is enable people to get the technology up and running as quickly as possible. When we talk to our customers, they'll often say that they love what we do, but they want to be able to access it faster. They want the applications to be set up and available to their employees as quickly as possible. And part of what we're doing now is the ability to accelerate that, and that's certainly one of the key threads that Helsinki brought in terms of when it was actually released. Now, if I have a look at the key areas and the key activities that we've undertaken with Helsinki, you can see we've broken them down into 4 broad areas in terms of the actual platform itself, IT operations management, the application side of things, and then finally the service management side of things. And as I mentioned previously, from our history of using it for an IT service management platform, we've been able to go out and we've been able to operate in many different disciplines and areas throughout an organization, and you can see the growth of those listed here. So when I take just a few moments just to dive into each of these different areas and give you a flavor and give you a view of what we're actually covering. So one of the major releases, or one of the major areas we covered with Service Management, the actual platform itself, was actually the portal designer. So previously, Ravi has been talking about how, you know, there's a CSS, there's the style sheets, there's, if you're familiar with the background to this, the workings inside technology such as Jelly to be able to create a service portal. With Helsinki, we've completely done away with that and rewritten that application from the ground up. And so now with the portal designer, we use something called AngularJS, which enables us to actually go through and create many different types of portals. You know, if ever you have a chance to look at Helsinki, you'll see how the actual interface has moved on from the original portal we developed, which was called ESS, through to Helsinki, where it's far more designed for that Uber-style experience that I've talked about previously. The fact that we've cleaned it up so that it's actually designed that when you actually go in there, you're looking to do an activity. You know, we had a conversation recently with another customer of ours, and they were asking how things look and why they couldn't exactly have that experience where somebody goes into a portal and they simply want to be able to find out how they can get some assistance, how they can get some help. Well, now that's actually central to how we operate. We have something called Contextual Search that allows a search to take place from the portal that will cover many different aspects of it. So it allows you to go and search knowledge bases, search any kind of reference articles that are available, really geared towards our modern environment and how we do that. And in tune with the actual portal with the new design is also the ability to be able to go out and configure and change it easily. So drag and drop new widgets, change the look and feel of it so that it's no longer branded ServiceNow, it's branded according to the organization's requirements. And to be able to go and change the components in there as well, so change the widgets that are on there at the same time. So with the portal designer and with the revamp of the IT service portal itself, we've made a great advancement in how the look and feel of ServiceNow is and how our customers are actually able to interact with it. Next, I've talked briefly about this already, but next I want to talk about the mobile support. So now with the arrival of Helsinki, we have native iOS and Android applications available to download from the respective stores that are supported by these platforms. These actually enable you to log into a ServiceNow instance, in fact, log into multiple ServiceNow instances, and from there be able to carry out day-to-day work as you would expect from a mobile device. Whether that's a change manager being able to go in and approve change requests, or whether it's somebody from a different business function such as HR being able to carry out the activities they require, these can all be accessed through this mobile interface itself. And then another theme we had with service management was actually the platform be able to actually carry out correct encryption of data. So with Helsinki, we brought edge encryption to the fore, and this allows data to be encrypted natively so that we actually are able to either encrypt a specific field or part of a field as well, so that we don't have to worry about the confidentiality of that type of information being exposed to the incorrect people, but also we also want to make it available to the people with the right access rights. We've brought that on. And then when we come to performance analytics is something that's now becoming more and more pervasive across the entire ServiceNow platform. It's something that as an organization we're very keen on and very much want to introduce to most of our customers. We want to be able to allow people to access the data and to understand the trending behind it as well. So with Helsinki, we brought on 49 new dashboards and over 189 new standard reports. And these cover all of the areas of service management, such as IT, but also go out and cover the other parts of the platform, including IT operations management, human resources, our service strategy, which encompasses financial management, project and portfolio areas, also customer service management and security incident management. We're really starting to take what we had in terms of the capabilities of performance analytics and really stretch it and use it across different parts of the platform itself. So that really covers how we're moving the platform from a service management perspective. If we look at it from an operations management perspective, from the ITOM space, and by that I'm really talking about the areas where we're looking to manage the infrastructure behind it, manage the actual discovery side of things, those type of areas. We've done a number of key enhancements in terms of the experience, in terms of the look and feel. And one of those is the actual health dashboard for the CMDB. Now, we've experienced and feedback we received prior to Helsinki is that a lot of customers' CMDBs are not necessarily in the best of conditions, but it's actually very hard to actually understand where things aren't correct, where the information is lacking, or where information may have aged over a period of time. So what we've been able to do is we've been able to take the CMDB and add over it a visualization layer. And that visualization layer allows you to look at it from three key areas. One is compliance, the next is completeness, and finally correctness as well. So in terms of compliance, well, we want to be able to see do we have the correct plugins on a desired state. So do we actually need to actually go out and look at a CI and actually understand it needs to be more investigated? It's not at the correct level of patching, for example. It's something that we actually would want to spend some time working at. From a completeness perspective, do we have all the information captured? Are all of the actual attributes for that particular CI populated? Do we need to go out and do some further work to understand where the information is and also understand how we can actually add that to the record itself? And then finally, from a correctness perspective, where do we have the classic duplicates? Where do we have orphan records? Do we have the correct state for the CI actually in the CMDB itself? And again, these are a lot of activities that require thought, require people to be able to understand where they need to focus their time. But also because we use the CMDB as the central system of record, we need to make sure that that CMDB itself is full of information that is actually useful to an organization, relevant to an organization, and actually able to be applied when it's being used for major incident control or whether it's used as part of a change process. If the information is incorrect in there, you're not going to be able to manage that. So from the CMDB, we've also now been able to bring in enhanced alert aggregation. So when you have a series of events taking place and alerts being generated, we really want to be able to aggregate those to be able to focus on the key ones that are affecting our organization. And we do that through an aggregation engine, through event management, and these will actually enable the attention to be focused correctly in the area we're looking for. And then for the final thread when it comes to operations management is actually looking at your cloud costs. So many organizations will have different cloud offerings available to their employees, but we actually want to be able to provide that as almost like a shopping cart experience, an online shopping experience. And to do that, we actually have within the ServiceNow Service Catalog the ability to go and make these requests, so that if you want to go off and create a new stand-up virtual service or a new virtual environment, we can actually record that within cloud management. We can actually maintain that, and if we wish to populate the CMDB, so we actually know what's actually out there and any associated services that are supporting. So the organizations, again, will be able to understand their entire cloud infrastructure from one central source as well. Now, if I move across to how we're developing or how we're working with our applications, one of the key areas we're looking at here is actually delegated development. So all of you are aware and understand the actual ServiceNow platform, know that creating new applications is a relatively straightforward process. I always like to think about ServiceNow as something that allows you to focus more on the what I want to do rather than the how I want to do it. So previously, we would have a situation where an organization would want to create a new application or had a great idea, but actually to put into practice required IT to actually be able to be involved and maybe provide resource to carry out that activity. With delegated development, we've been able to effectively allow that to be moved down to a different department with the right skill set to actually carry out that development themselves, and then allow IT to be involved when we wish to promote it into a production environment. So again, it frees up resources, allows an organization to be more agile, and allows more responsive application development to take place. We've also got the ability now within Helsinki to do source control. So we actually be able to take different data sources from different, sorry, not data sources, we'd be able to take different application data from other areas and actually integrate that within ServiceNow. So again, removing the requirement to maybe host so much activity on the ServiceNow platform, but actually allow people to then build those applications and integrate them from different code sources. And then finally, we've also now brought in support for the latest version of JavaScript. So we're actually allowing increased productivity, and we'll actually enable people to go away and actually understand just exactly which, from which bits of JavaScript they actually want to be able to reuse as well. So rather than having to go through and reinvent things, they can actually be able to reuse that whenever they wish to as well. So from the last, and on to the last thread itself, from the actual service management. And again, we've made some major steps, as I mentioned previously when we were looking at Geneva. And I've also previously mentioned about the IT service portal and the new portal designer. But with the other key applications and the key areas of development we've been looking at, you can see them listed here, we've actually made some significant changes in those as well. So if I look at things from a customer service management perspective, from there we've actually enhanced how the accounts are managed. So with the arrival of CSM in Geneva, it was actually going out into a very different area for ServiceNow. It was actually taking us into part of the solution, part of our solution that was actually something that was unfamiliar to us. And as a result of that, we've been able to enhance that with the experiences we've gained. So one area we would want to be able to look at is the fact that quite often organizations, if you're signing up to a customer service account, we want to remove some of the admin overhead of that, some of the actual account creation. If you're in your day-to-day life, when you're using other systems, I talked earlier on about Amazon and eBay, each of those, when actually you create an account, you don't actually need to be able to go and ask somebody to create it for you. You self-administer yourself. You actually go and create your account, you set your logon details, you maybe set your password as well. That's something that you're more than happy to do without having to require somebody else's involvement. And we've been able to bring that into customer service management for Helsinki. And that self-administration allows me to set the fields, allows me to understand where key data I want to populate in there. And so, yeah, it makes me very much more self-sufficient rather than relying on a back-end process an organization would have to manage. With security operations, well, we've actually been able to understand and look more at the threat side of things. So we're all aware, recently in the past couple of days, there was a recent denial of service attack that was taking place on one of the key infrastructure areas for the actual internet itself. So a number of services such as Netflix were taken offline because of this attack. Now, if you're able to understand the threats and understand how you put together the background information, you're going to be able to actually deal with this far more effectively. So with the arrival of security operations in Geneva, we actually brought together a central place to understand how I'm going to be able to identify what the threats are to my environment and then also to be able to remediate against them. Well, with Helsinki, we brought the ability of actually having a single portal to bring in information from those different sources and actually present it in one single view to allow me to act on them at the same time and allow me to focus on areas that I need to. I've mentioned, talked earlier about other areas we've moved into. GRC is one of those key areas at the same time. Excuse me. GRC and governance, risk and compliance is what it stands for, is again a key area that we're looking at and all of our customers are focusing on as well. With Helsinki, we actually broke GRC down into 3 new separate applications. And these covered policy and compliance, also risk, and then finally the audit side of things. And again, this is a growing area for us. The fact that most organizations have a number of key policies they need to adhere to, and these can cope from things like the ISO standards through to Sarbanes-Oxley and also to PCI compliance. These have a number of different components behind it that you need to spend quite a bit of time building together a process to make sure that you're following the key recommendations, but also you're able to follow the key requirements of these and understand how I can actually present it back if I'm ever audited, what I've actually carried out, and the fact that I am actually able to say I am compliant. So by the fact that we've broken down these stages into a number of key processes, we're able to use the back-end workflow service now to actually manage that activity. So if you think GRC isn't about the policies, that's absolutely correct. But it's also significantly about the fact that I need to carry out the activities to prove that I have followed those policies. And that's what we do with GRC now. We actually take from something called the Universal Compliance Framework, take these different policies, break them down into their different citations, and then apply controls, and then actually provide the control tests to actually say that I have carried out these pieces of work. I've made sure, for example, that my servers are at a sufficient level of patching to adhere to the compliance standards, or that I've carried out different activities that prove that I'm compliant for the organization that are going to be auditing me. And then we can also take GRC and actually use it for different activities as an individual organization. It could be there are external contracts if you're a vendor of different services to other companies, and they would want to understand that you understand what your contract should be supplying and the fact to actually carry out those specific steps themselves. Now, I often think if you're looking at data centers, you need to make sure, for example, that there are physical badge lock controls in place. But how do you actually control that, and how do you actually understand what individual needs to carry out the check to make sure it's actually compliant? Well, you'd use GRC, you can build a custom policy yourselves, and then assign these tasks out to individuals. It's pretty much perfect for a ServiceNow environment and a ServiceNow application itself. And then part of our service strategy area is the idea is project portfolio management and also financial management. And these are two key areas where we want to be able to add more capability behind it. So from a project portfolio side of things, we actually want to bring across the concept of the program entity in Helsinki. Actually be able to capture not just individual projects, but the fact that there are overarching programs in place that actually want to be able to control by a number of specific projects themselves. So rather than having these multiple different entities or projects, I can now actually apply these and link them together to create a program that would mean that you can put dependencies in place. You can also bring in the fact that you give a program manager the capability to actually manage these different related projects, and also the demands that are actually going to be placed on an organization to fulfill them into one central place as well. And then from a financial management perspective, is that we're actually able to actually bring in a number of key areas in terms of the budgeting process at the same time. So you're actually being able to understand what we're intending to spend on our project, and then actually the actuals associated with that as well. And then finally, from Helsinki, I'm going to touch a little bit about HR service management. And this is really showing a maturing, and I'll talk a little bit more about HR in a minute with Istanbul. But from a Helsinki perspective, we're actually now really starting to mature it and actually bring together, we have something like 21 out-of-the-box service requests that are available from the HR portal that enable an organization to start really managing the HR department in a way that it's not quite used to. So if the existing HR departments are struggling with the volume of calls coming in because they don't really have a system to be able to process those, we now, with HR service management under Helsinki, have the ability to push out a portal with some standard requests, so freeing up interactions that traditionally happen through email and also through phone calls as well. So you can actually use it as a way of logging these type of case calls, actually processing them, actually assigning them to the correct individual, and then resolving them so that the employee feels that they've got the answer they're looking for. And again, if you think about the theme I started earlier on talking, the fact that we're actually able to understand where we're going in terms of consumerizing our service and also time to delivery. These are two key areas that we address with the ServiceNow with the HR portal as well. So that's really me talking and wrapping up about how I'm going to talk about Helsinki. And then I know we've got some time left for questions at the end, but I just want to take a couple of minutes and talk to you a little bit more about Istanbul as well. So Istanbul, a number of key areas, and I might as well continue with the HR theme while we're still on it, having talked about it with Helsinki. From a Istanbul release overview, you can see with HR, we actually want to increase the control and autonomy of HR teams. And the way we're going to do that is we're actually going to create a scoped application for HR. So whereas currently the ServiceNow administrator would be able to control access to the HR application, be able to control who can see what activities they can undertake, with Istanbul, we'll actually create a self-contained application, scoped app, on our platform. And this means that only people who are designated as HR administrators will be able to go in and actually assign access or make any changes or make any modifications to the look and feel of the screens and also to who can actually access them as well. Now, of course, the HR admin would be able to allow people outside the HR team to go and collect that, give that permission to carry out those activities. But what we really wanted to be able to do was say, if you're in HR, you can decide you are firmly in control of the access controls. You're firmly in control of who can or cannot see the data. So, all of us work in organizations in the HR department. They hold a lot of key information about ourselves as individuals. We're now firmly locking that down so that only HR actually have the ability to view that information and actually act on it as well. So really something that turns our HR application into a fully mature product that allows us to be able to be used by a number of major organizations. Now, from a security operation side of things, we're looking at producing more out-of-the-box workflow, more ways of actually remediating automatically any kind of threat that's been identified or any kind of breach that's actually taken place. So we're looking to increase the speed. I talked earlier on about the time it takes to actually identify and then remediate against a security threat. We're really looking to produce a system there rather than having to wait for somebody to identify. And often the security analysts are have a lot of information they have to try and process and understand. But taking away some of that manual requirement and automating that process. So if we see a particular piece of malware that suddenly hit our networks, we can actually carry out automatic malware scans and any remediation against that without needing to require a security analyst to be involved. Obviously, you'd still use a security analyst for anything that's totally significant or major that's coming up. But at the same time, we'd want to be able to free up their time for those activities rather than focusing on running malware scans, as I've just mentioned previously. So really, again, taking the security operations to another level where we go for this. We're also going to be with Istanbul, we're going to actually be able to understand more about the application side of things. So look at application portfolio. And from that world, we're going to be able to say, well, actually, from our applications, these are the ones we need to spend time on. These are the ones we actually need to focus on and spend some effort with. So rather than having to go out and, again, piece together the information from disparate sources, we're actually going to bring those in a way that allows us to understand the context behind things. Now, from a customer service application, we're going to be able to extend the model. Previously, with Helsinki releases and Geneva releases, we're really looking at this more from a business to business idea. So the data model supported that. With Istanbul, we'll be bringing in the ability to actually understand it from a consumer's perspective. So there's going to be enhancements to the data model to capture more consumer-specific information. But we're also going to be able to capture from here the ability for an individual to actually go and register a product that they may have bought from this side of things. And again, that's taking us into another new space in terms of another new market, which we can look to address at the same time. And then we'll also improve, you can see we've got some platform improvements. So looking at how we're actually going to understand which parts of our business service we need to look at, which ones we need to identify. And this is going to use part of our performance analytics capability. So we'll actually be able to look at our infrastructure maps, infrastructure diagrams, and be able to say, well, these are the ones that we're starting to see a higher level of trend on incidents that are being generated against a particular configuration item. Or we're looking at a trend in terms of performance of something. And then we're going to start looking at how we need to address that at the same time. So while we're continuing to maintain the service, we can look at and address any areas which we feel we may need to spend some effort on. So that's really kind of just the description and run through of Helsinki and Istanbul. I think we've got a few minutes left to address any questions that have been raised during the course of the past hour. Trevor, are you on the phone, and can you provide any questions we may have?
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Matt, and thanks very much, Ravi. A couple of questions have come up during the course of the webinar, so I'll just run through those. And Ravi, Matt, please, between the two of you, you're welcome to obviously to answer them, together or jointly or separately. So the first question we have from the attendees was, as we are already in October, does it make sense? Does it make sense to wait for 2 months and upgrade to Istanbul rather than moving to Helsinki now and upgrade again?
Okay, I will take that, Trevor. So yes, I would recommend to always go for the latest version of ServiceNow, because you know that in every new version, ServiceNow is going to give you a lot of additions, a lot of features, which you can make use of to improve the service delivery overall. So you don't really need to wait to go with Helsinki and then go for Istanbul after some time. So if you think that Istanbul, I think you can go for the latest version, which would be Istanbul, and you will get notifications about when it will be customer ready very shortly from ServiceNow. But if you think from the other perspective, like whether this upgrade is stable for my instance, okay, depending upon the customization you have did, to have enough time for the testing and other stuff, okay, you can settle down with Helsinki, okay, wait for it, and wait for Istanbul to have a couple of hot fixes and patches and go for it. But I would recommend go for Istanbul directly if you have enough time to test and prove that, okay, everything is working fine, to make use of the new features from the new version.
Yes, I think the only thing I'd add, Ravi, to that is just one extra thing is it kind of also think about which release you're currently on and where you're actually migrating to. You know, we've had customers who migrated very successfully from Eureka through to Geneva without too many issues. So it's not something, you know, it just depends on your testing and your planning phase and where you want to go to. And I've just tried to outline some of the key benefits of Istanbul, and that should hopefully drive your decision as which one is the right version for you to go if you were going to upgrade at the moment or at this moment in time.
Perfect. Thank you, Matt. Thanks, Ravi. The next question we have is how, or rather, could I skip a complete family during upgrade?
Yes, I will take that. So I have indeed talked about that when we are talking about understanding ServiceNow upgrade. Yes, you can skip a particular family when you're upgrading. So you don't need to really go step by step. If you haven't did it before, like for some reasons, you can always skip a particular family and go for the new version, whatever is available. So all the things what you need to know and understand when you're upgrading is understand how your instance will react or will look like when you upgrade. So if it is very generic, if you're using a product, okay, so if it is an upgrade, it's going to be common around for everyone. But since ServiceNow is a platform and you have made use of this platform to customize it, every instance of ServiceNow is unique. So all you need to do is how it will react to the new version or the upgrade. So you can skip. The direct answer is yes, you can skip the version.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. Thank you very much. Another question that has come through is how long does an instance upgrade take, and will my production instance be down when the upgrade is taking place?
Okay. So there will be indeed a downtime to your production instance when the upgrade happens, but it is very, very minimal. Okay. So normally the entire upgrade process will not take more than 20 to 30 minutes of time. At the max, it is 45 minutes. So depending upon what are the things you have did on the customization part and the development part. So at the max, I have seen or witnessed 45 minutes of time, and the downtime will be almost the same, and it is very minimum, and that's why you need to plan your production upgrade carefully. Okay, you're not going to lose any data. Everything is the same. During the upgrade process, it is not advisable to use the instance. Okay, so you can take that as a downtime and plan it, and make sure that you have this put under your change management control, because if you have the change management control, you will have when the downtime is, you're going to announce a downtime and all the other stuff. So it's always good to go with your change management process if you have already.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Ravi. I think in the interest of time, those will be all the questions that we will be able to take today. I'd like to take this opportunity just to thank Aspire Systems as well as Matt from ServiceNow. So thank you, Ravi. Thank you, Matt, for taking part in this webinar. Just to advise all those of you that are on the call, you will be able to log in post this call and access the recording of the webinar. And should you have any further queries, please feel free to reach out to either ourselves at ServiceNow or Aspire Systems. Thank you very much for your time today, and we look forward to engaging with you soon.